I really see myself in a lot of these younger students, or I'll see my younger brother, and being able to just make sure that they feel empowered and that they feel represented in the stories that we read to them at school. And just hearing maybe their native language or a language that they hear often can just be so powerful and reaffirming for a student's identity. So that's something that just like I really care about and I really want to continue to scale.
That was Daniela Palacios, founder of Para Kids, and this is Epicenter NYC. We connect our communities to news, information, and each other. I'm your host, Amber Castillo. This week is Reading Across America Week, a time to celebrate the power of books and the joy of reading. But for many kids growing up in bilingual households, reading can come with an extra challenge, balancing the language spoken at home with the one used at school. That's something that hits close to home for Daniela Palacios. During the pandemic, while she and her younger brother were spending a lot more time with their family, she watched her brother struggle to understand some of their conversations in Spanish. Ultimately, she was inspired to create Para Kids, a media company that helps children embrace bilingualism through storytelling. Daniela is an author of bilingual children's books, a proud advocate for language learning, and a champion of cultural appreciation. Raised in Newark, New Jersey, with Ecuadorian roots, she's now a junior at Columbia University, working to make bilingual education more accessible and fun for kids everywhere. Today, I sit down with Daniela to learn more about how her personal experiences shaped Para Kids, why bilingual storytelling matters, and what she's learned along the way as a young entrepreneur and writer. Before we jump in, a quick message from our team.
Hi, I'm Mariana from the Epicenter NYC team. Did you know that anxiety, sleep problems, and muscle pain could be symptoms of long COVID? Take the steps needed to protect yourself, your family, and your plants. Get vaccinated against COVID-19. We can help you schedule your appointment and even arrange you right there. Email us at hello@epicenter-nyc.com or call or text us at 917-818-2690.
Now back to the show. Here's my conversation with Daniela.
Hi, my name is Daniela Palacios. I am the founder of Para Kids. We are a bilingual children's media company, and our mission is to empower all children to become and to remain bilingual. And we do this through our bilingual books in English and Spanish, and also through bilingual workshops that we host with elementary schools and different organizations.
And tell me about how you got into this field in terms of children's literature or education.
Yeah, of course. So I started Para Kids during the pandemic, and it was really inspired by the experiences that I was facing within my own family. During the pandemic, obviously, like all the other families, we were at home basically for like the entire day. And I noticed that my younger brother, Xavier, who at the time was 7 years old, was really struggling to say certain things in Spanish when we would talk in Spanish. And even things like jokes, sometimes it would take him a while to understand and to be able to join in on the conversation. And I started to really see how it was making him feel frustrated, that he just felt like he wasn't really part of our family because of this growing language barrier. And for me, as an older sister, that was really heartbreaking and something that I really wanted to help him make sure that he stayed connected to my family's culture, to our native tongue, but also because I realized that now, as I'm a junior in college, I've been able to benefit a lot from being multilingual. And that's something that I really wanted to make sure that he had those benefits as well of being multilingual. So we would always do bedtime stories. And I decided to try to use Spanish translated books to help him and empower him to learn Spanish. And as I try to use those tools, my brother just continued to feel very frustrated. He felt very overwhelmed by the fact that the entire text is really like in a foreign language. Like maybe he knew a couple of key words, but all in all, it was just very overwhelming for him. And so I started to think about what other tools could be out there to help someone like my brother that wants to be bilingual. And, I really wanted him to remain bilingual as well. So I looked on platforms like Amazon because they also have different children's books. And I tried to look for a bilingual book because I knew that if there was English text on all the pages, it would make my brother feel so much more comfortable and just be able for him to have English text to look and refer back to in case he ever got confused or frustrated by trying to read in Spanish. And when I did the search results, I found that only Spanish translated books came up. There were no bilingual books that came up. And I was super shocked because even back during the pandemic, there's obviously still a very high percentage of bilingual, multilingual speakers, a lot of immigrant families. And so it was very disheartening to see that, within the publishing industry, there were no representation and no care necessarily for bilingual families or families that want to raise bilingual children. So that was really like a turning point for me where I realized, like, wow, like, if I really want to look for a bilingual book and there isn't any out there, then I should just create one myself. Because my first language is Spanish. And so I also know how to write in Spanish. So I felt like this was something that I could take on. And really, with the initial purpose of just writing something for my brother. But then as I started just connecting with different parents and as we started to transition back to school after the pandemic ended, noticing how there were children that had similar struggles to my brother, I felt that this was a tool that would actually be really beneficial and empowering to lots of different types of students. And that was honestly like the beginning of Para Kids, just like writing the story and then getting an illustrator and then distributing it as well to different schools and just to different people in my community.
Yeah. And when did you launch Para Kids as a business?
Yeah, so we officially launched in the summer of 2022. But there was like a lot of like work and ideas happening like since before, like since throughout the school year.
Is there like a concrete example you could give of something that your brother taught you in this process?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I would say that as I was deciding what I wanted my second bilingual children's book to look like, I started my first bilingual children's book with two main characters, which are Sarah and Riley. Sarah is an Ecuadorian immigrant that just moved to the United States. And then Riley is Mexican American. So she was born in the US, but her family is from Mexico. And as I was trying to think of possibly a new character to add to the story, I spoke with my brother. Obviously, he actually gave me a lot of feedback throughout my first book, just even from like the dialogue between the characters to like the development of the story. We would read the story like all the time. So he basically remembers the first story from the top of his head. But anyways, for the second book, I was talking to him about it and he told me basically like, Daniela, you should add a male character because I feel like that's something that, is important and like I would like to see. And I think that was something that was really important because I mean, when I wrote my first book, it was obviously meant to be for obviously all children, but I didn't realize how the fact that it was just two female girl characters might make some of the male students feel not necessarily as excited or as included. And so in my second book, through the conversations I had with my brother and seeing it from his perspective as well, I decided to add a male character. His name is Ricardo, and he is Brazilian American. So his parents are from Brazil, and he was born in the United States. And through this story, readers are also going to learn more about Brazil, and they're going to see how the friendship develops between the three of them now. And I thought this was something that was really great because now when I do story times with this book as well, I definitely notice more engagement as well from the male students and just seeing them feel seen through Ricardo, I think is really important. And I think that that's just one recent and big example of my brother really helping me make sure that the books really resonate with all types of students. And he is definitely someone that I always like to talk to just to get more of his perspective, because I think that it's really important, especially when creating a product that is for young children, that you speak to the people that you're creating the product for. So, overall, I definitely feel very grateful for his support.
Yeah. Is there anything about, your family's culture, maybe any trips abroad to see family, anything about your family experience that also in
Yeah.
these stories?
Yeah, of course. I really like that question. Actually, that's something that I reflected on a lot when I was writing my first book specifically, just because that was the first time that I really was thinking of how to properly communicate more about what it's like to come from like Ecuadorian culture, because like I mentioned, Sarah is an Ecuadorian immigrant, and so part of the story is that you also learn more about her culture just as much as you learn about Riley's culture being Mexican American. And so for me, I've grown up going to a lot of family events and just being surrounded by a lot of extended family members and learning more about things from like their slang to the foods that are cultural and also sports. I remember one day I was in like my local park and I realized that there was something very unique that was happening in my park that to me was very normal because I've basically grown up there. But I realized to other students and just other people, they have different communities and they look differently. And obviously, most people know the sport volleyball, but in my neighborhood, in the volleyball court, what a lot of the people play there, which majority of them are Ecuadorian, they play what's called equa volley, which is just like Ecuador, but like equa volley. And it's basically like the Ecuadorian version of volleyball. And I realized that that was something that was very unique and like honestly, like not that many people would know, probably just like Ecuadorians, maybe a couple of other people. But as I was like writing the story, I realized like this would be a really great thing to add when both of the girls are in gym class and, very related to sports and like fitness. And so that basically inspired like that specific part of the book where students are going to learn more about something that is similar to volleyball, but it still has like a different cultural aspect to it.
And just to clarify, are both of your parents Ecuadorian?
Yes, they're both
Okay,
Ecuadorian.
got it. And then you live in Newark now, or?
Yeah, so I guess I live in New York, but right now I'm like full time at Columbia, so I live in New York City, like in a dorm.
Would you say that change at all has informed some of how you're doing business? I'm thinking in terms of some of maybe the partnerships or like the visit
Yeah.
to the schools.
Yeah, totally. So we started to do a lot of different collaborations with actually Columbia University, like my own university, because they do family programs that are completely free to the community. And so specifically targeted to Harlem and like Morningside residents. And those events, some of them are just having different vendors and organizations come and do activities with the students. Provide food and like different like arts, and other programs that we've also partnered with them is focus more on science and sort of promoting science, and then we'll also have our own table and do our own bilingual reading and do our different activities as well. And so those have been really fun and really great to actually connect with more parents one on one, because I've also been able to talk to parents that are very serious about raising bilingual children. And so not only are they excited about our bilingual books, but they also are looking into enrolling their kids in like music classes that are in Spanish, for example, to be able to really make sure that the language learning process is as exciting as it can be. And that's been really interesting and fun to hear. And kind of like I mentioned before, um, partnering with schools is something that is really important to us. And so we have started to be in contact and talking more with different New York City educators and schools. And that's also something that really matters to us because there is clearly a very big multicultural immigrant population here in the United States. And through the workshops that I've done, I've talked to students after the workshop that have told me, like, I'm really glad that you read the story because I see myself in Sarah because I just moved to the United States from Puerto Rico like 3 years ago. And then I have other students that I've talked to that tell me, I go to school with a lot of people that speak Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish. So I'm happy that now like I can try to learn Spanish. And so that just makes me really happy because for us, it really is like we take a lot of pride in the fact that our bilingual books have a lot of flexibility and they're able to be really beneficial to students from all types of backgrounds. So whether it's a student that wants to learn English or a student that wants to learn Spanish, our books are really valuable tools. And then something I'll also add is that there are parents as well that only speak Spanish and they really struggle to find quality reading moments with their children because they don't have access to books that are in their language as well. And so our bilingual books have actually been really impactful for these families as well to be able to practice reading with their children and making sure parents feel comfortable and they're able to properly empower their children.
Is there anything else in terms when you think about like future plans and future vision for Para Kids? Is there anything else that excites you or that you would like to see happen in coming years?
I'm really excited to, first of all, just continue to work with more elementary schools. I feel really privileged being able to connect with younger students. And I really see myself in a lot of these younger students, or I'll see my younger brother, and being able to just make sure that they feel empowered and that they feel represented in the stories that we read to them at school. And just hearing maybe their native language or a language that they hear often can just be so powerful and reaffirming for a student's identity. So that's something that just like I really care about and I really want to continue to scale our impact through our collaborations. And apart from that, in terms of like different types of products that we could develop, I really would like to explore the idea of developing another type of product, perhaps something that's, I guess, like in the toy industry, and seeing how that can be created in a way that is meant to also empower bilingual education, bilingualism, learning different languages. So I would say right now I'm sort of in the like creative process trying to see what exactly that could look like. And like I said before, I'm also very happy that I have my younger brother to always give me feedback as well with any of my new product ideas.
Was there anything I didn't ask that you think is important to this journey, to share about your business?
I guess like another thing I would add is throughout my experiences being a first generation entrepreneur and participating in different pitch competitions, I've also had the ability to be part of different business incubators and even being part of an entrepreneurship club here at Columbia. I have definitely noticed that there is still a very big lack of like representation in terms of like female founders, but specifically like women of color founders and a lot of like Hispanic, like Latinx founders. There's also a very big like underrepresentation of that in like the spaces I have been part of like throughout my journey. And that has been something else that has been difficult to deal with, I guess, because I think there's something very important, of course, about diversity and making sure that different people's experiences are shown throughout their different creations and business ideas. So that's also something else that I really care about, making sure that more young people and young people of color and Hispanic and Latinx youth and young adults feel excited and feel like they are able to create their own business, their own product, their own service, and being able to target it to populations and communities that they feel are currently not being served in the best way that they could be served.
Yeah. And right now it's a team of you.
Yeah, so right now it's just me. So I guess that's also something else that's very uh, interesting and unique, just like being like a solo founder. But I've definitely found a lot of support in, like I said, like my business mentor. And also sometimes I'll just ask maybe other like student founders that are like in my network at my school, or even just like going on LinkedIn and maybe like talking to people that are doing cool things that I would be interested in, and learning from them and like how they did it is always a really good way to go as well.
Where can people find you?
For parents and educators that are interested in our bilingual books, we do have a website. It's www.parakidsbooks.com. And then we also, on our website, we have a form for schools that are interested in partnering with us and that want us to host a bilingual workshop with their students. And so they can reach out to us that way. If not, we also have email, which is parakidsbooks@gmail.com. And we always like to have further communications there about possibly doing a partnership. And we also have social media pages. So Instagram, Facebook, it's Para Kids Books. And we also have LinkedIn, which is also Para Kids Books.
If you're interested in exploring Daniela's bilingual children's books, such as Sarah's Friendship Passport, El Pasaporte de Amistad de Sara, you can find them on the Para Kids website, parakidsbooks.com. Para Kids also offers bilingual workshops for schools and parent-teacher organizations, focusing on effective strategies to promote bilingual education at home and in the classroom. These workshops include bilingual read-aloud sessions in English and Spanish, extension activities, and more. To learn more about their offerings or get in touch, click the link in our show notes. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com. Our intro music is All the Pretty Horses by Caravika. You can find more of their music on their website, linked to in our podcast description.